Hey everybody, just checking in. Hope everybody's doing okay. It's like I feel every couple of days, every couple of weeks, I should say, I come in and have to apologize for the state of the markets. But the good news is we often predict exactly what's going to happen. And then when you know what's going to happen, it's less of a surprise and you can prepare in advance. It's just as I start here, markets are tanking a little bit again. We'll talk about... I need more coffee. It's been a long day and I've been up all night. Apologies, everybody. It's going to be a rough one, but I'm just going to power through it. Okay, here we go. I should probably have a beer. Anyway, let's just jump in and cover what we're going to talk about today. What happened and where do we go from here? Math, money, freedom. You guys know the drill. And none of this is investment advice, as you well know. So let's talk about some of the situations we have now. It's what's called a risk-off day. This is a situation where you move from riskier assets to risk-off assets. Risk-on assets would be high-risk equities, disruptive stocks, crypto, etc. And there is, you can see here, everybody started selling yesterday and through the night. Now, there is a growing likelihood of course, the collapse of Evergrande, the property developer, and this sent many stock markets reeling overnight. For example, Hong Kong, I think, is down about 3%. Shanghai and China was closed. Coincidentally, they missed a fun day, but they're going to have a rude awakening tomorrow morning when they wake up. And I know I have some viewers in places like Tokyo and in mainland China and in Hong Kong and Taiwan and other places. So hang tough, everybody. But it really shook up the markets also in the West. Europe on average down about 2%. US stock markets 1.5 to 2%, etc. So the question is, as we discussed Friday, is it a layman moment? How serious is it? And what's going to happen? We also saw a big inflow as well into fixed income funds, and the 10-year US Treasury yield is down to about 1.33%. So stuff is going on, stuff is happening. It is as bad as we thought it was going to be, but is it going to get worse? So first of all, Bitcoin gets swept up in global sell-off as stocks stumble. Now, what this really means is cryptocurrencies took a beating. A lot of stuff is down between 10 and 20% over the last 24 hours. And the question is, will these Evergrande fears spill over? I believe yes, in part, but we'll see how serious it's going to get. So as you know from Friday's video, we spoke about this, how everything is interrelated, how the bond market ties to equity markets and crypto. And here we are. So let's talk about the crypto market today. It's actually down more since this slide was put together, but you can see basically a red day, a blood red day, with the exception of Celo, which is kind of interesting. And the reason for that, I'm not going to go into because that's not that important right now. We've got more important stuff to get to. So let's talk about equity markets. I normally don't show this, but this is important to see. It's very rare you see everything completely red. But there's a quiz for everybody. Vaccines, anybody? Look at the two that are green. 3, in fact. AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, and Pfizer. And what do they make? And how is that interconnected to what caused the sell-off? Answers in the comments below. It's just... The theme on Friday was the interconnectivity of the markets in the world. And here you are. So, anyway, it's I shouldn't laugh, but... this stuff is great because it gives us an opportunity to prepare, hedge, and buy the dip. And we'll talk more about that too. Global market indices, as you can see, they all took a battering. Not one market was not dead red or deep red. But you know, I've been calling for a big S&P hit now for 6 weeks. So I had 2 weeks left on my timeline before the end of September. So it's here. And I reckon we might go down to about 4,100, 4,050, or it could be worse, but that could be a good floor to settle and start thinking about some positions, although I did buy a few positions. Now, for all those people who are long, look at all those folks in Bybit, nearly $500 million lost. Do they ever learn? I mean, it's crazy, and I know a couple of people who are pretty sophisticated investors, and they actually got liquidated as well. So I had a couple of phone calls this morning. Anyway, the issue here is Binance down 200 million, Bybit $440 million, OKEx 172 million, FTX 122 million, etc., etc. You can see, but $1.1 billion wiped. But let's talk about the irony of what this all means. So just to put things in perspective, I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at. Bitcoin was developed to fight GFC's global financial crises. GFC 1.0 is basically the 2008 financial crisis, which was related to real estate. And here we are again. Is this GFC 2.0? We don't know. But if you look at the Evergrande debt in perspective, it's basically not far off the Ethereum market cap. It is about $60 billion shy of the Ethereum market cap. Just to say, it's not that big, but the knock-on effect of this type of loss is huge. And it's not just a discrete event that impacts one company and one balance sheet, but it's all the other people that own the paper and they're impacted by this knock-on effect. And I'm going to talk more about debt and liquidity in a minute. So my view today of the world and where we are. So here on the left, we have planet Earth and we have a raging endemic. I don't call it a pandemic anymore because it ain't going away. Second thing, we have supply chain turmoil. There's so many reports now that finding semiconductors in the future could be really, really difficult. And that's going to impact everything, literally, from a blender to a car to airplanes and everything else. Everything is full of semiconductors. Then we have the bond market mess. We've known about that for quite some time, but it's about to get a whole lot worse. Then we have a debt-ridden world. Everybody's going to have a closer eye now on debt and management of that debt. We have crazy inflation. I'll talk about that in a minute too. And we have a risk-off stance. Now, on the right-hand side, we have Bitcoin with accelerating adoption. I mean, the numbers coming out of El Salvador right now are unbelievable. We had 1.1 million, which is now 1.5 million in just 2 days. 400,000 people more adopted Bitcoin in El Salvador, which is huge. We have Bitcoin as a perfect inflation hedge. We have whale accumulation. They're buying the dip. In fact, other people are buying the dip too. I'll talk about it in a second too. We have a crazy supply crunch. We have a risk-off solution, which is Bitcoin. And I've been talking about this for a while, that this is a safe place to park money, despite the fact it's down 9.5% in the last 24 hours. And I think there's a theoretical floor about 39K right now. It used to be 43.5, down to 41. Now it's about 39K, based on some recent numbers and some trend lines. So that's the worldview of where we are today. Now let's talk about what's happening with Bitcoin supply crunch refresher. Here you can see the fact that Bitcoin balances on exchanges continues to drain. Bitstamp, OKEx, Huobi, Coinbase, they are draining fast. You see these strong outflows in this actual graphic here from Glassnode. And it's kind of spectacular. And that's a very bullish sign. Now, it's hard to talk about bullish news when people are getting, hurt financially. But literally, there is so much goodness out there. So Bitcoin cycle on repeat. This is from Tech Dev, a tweet I saw today. And Bitcoin, it's probably just this simple. He says in 2013, they had basically a big check mark on the log fib 1.272, and the green little box is the log fib 2.272. You can see the point of the pattern in 2013 and 2017 repeated almost identically. The question is it going to repeat again in 2021? Now, when you look at the fib levels and the log levels of those between the log fib of 2.72 and 1.272, we hit the 1.272 exactly in July, like we did in the previous two cycles. So does that mean we're going green up to that box on the far right corner up there in this cycle? If so, this means a 220K plus Bitcoin if history repeats. And again, it's uncanny how similar these lines are, these fib levels are on these charts. So again, just an interesting anecdotal point to look at. Now, what is the worst case scenario of where we're going? This is from Thomas Lamkin, and I love this, very eloquent. I'm going to say it in my own words though, just so you guys can see his quote. But basically, here we are. China layman 2.0 blows up. Check, we covered that already. Now we've got the counterparty risk, which is basically all the people holding the bags of the bags of the bags. That'll have a knock-on effect. We don't know how bad it's going to be yet. We'll see. But one thing is for sure, that some liquidity will definitely dry up. And if that happens, the stock market could tank. And if the stock market tanks, it'll bring crypto down with it. And some people, this guy is calling for Bitcoin maybe falling to $30,000. Imagine that. Imagine $30,000 Bitcoin. Oh yeah, we had that a few weeks ago. So not a problem. Anyway, the point is, expect some volatility. I always say buckle in, fasten your seatbelt. It's going to get bumpy. And now, the Fed, the next step after a little bit of contagion, financial contagion, liquidity drying up, all the usual stuff happening, stock market falling, what's going to happen? Guess. Money printers. They're going to start. We're going to be like April 2020 all over again. And they're going to flood the system with money. Now, in other positive news, this guy, this is not presidential advice, even though he said it was. This guy is funny and he cracks me up. Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, and he's a game changer. He's a baller, and I have so much respect for him. He bought the dip, and he bought another 200 coins or something last night, and actually early this morning, California time. So he was up all night, and he tweeted immediately. So very, very impressive. So if presidents are buying the dip, I don't know. I did this morning too. I made 5 trades this morning, so it was a good morning to get some stuff. Just as we're talking, Bitcoin has turned around and gone green candle. Not green for the day, of course, but it's just perked up from, it was at 42,566. Now it's 42,738. Very small win, but that's the good juju from you guys. So in terms of other relatively good news, pro traders remain neutral to bullish. So considering what just happened, this is a positive. So when you look at the put option ratios, there is a bullish sentiment from how traders are leaning. So basically, people are getting back in and they're buying call options on the future Bitcoin, which is cool. So again, what do they know? I bought the dip too. Now let's talk about money flows. Pre-correction. This data is from September 17th. But what's interesting about it is, though, it shows Bitcoin saw inflows about $15 million just for the week. Not a lot. But other top investments such as Ethereum and multi-asset investment products and a few others, which remain nameless considering the size of their market caps, they had very, very paltry inflows. For example, Cardano, $1.9 million, which is tiny considering the size of his market cap. But what is interesting, when you look at the money flows based on market cap as a percentage, Solana and Polkadot did very well. So I thought that was an interesting thing just to show people are still buying, money is still flowing into the space, despite all of this Evergrande stuff. So let's talk a little bit about Solana. I haven't mentioned it in quite some time on purpose, but here, this had to be noted, it was an article from the Daily Hodl staff. Solana investors shrug off network outage last week as Sol sees another wave of institutional capital coming in, kind of not to be outdone by the other group that took in some institutional capital last week as well. So but the important thing to note here is, though, the institutional investors were not fazed by the outage, which was caused by a denial of service attack. So we'll see. Again, positive for Solana. Big money, clever money, sees the end game. They're not worried about this short-term undulations. Let's talk about it. So let's talk a little bit about the government. Very important, because the response of the government to this type of crisis, if it gets worse, will be very, very important. So here, there's a couple of government issues. One, September 27th, there's a date to pass $1 trillion infrastructure bill. Number 2, the government shutdown is planned for October 1st if they don't increase the debt ceiling for October, and there's crazy US inflation. So basically, what this is all about is liquidity issues and debt issues. The infrastructure bill has to come and everything else. So it's going to be very interesting when you see the issues around debt and liquidity in the US in about 2 weeks compared to the issues in China right now. Again, everything is interrelated, and it's a little bit of a shaky house of cards, to be honest. Now, in terms of inflation is real. There's a lot of bubbling stuff around the internet saying, oh no, it's deflation. Yeah, I don't think so. This proves it's not. So regarding inflation, if you look at the CPI, they have inflation at about 2%. And, the CPI measures rents inflation twice a year in a survey. Look at that, twice a year in a survey after what's happened. This company called Celo, they have data on 100 million US housing units. Talk about data. And it's updated every month. And these numbers show that Celo is estimating rents right now are increasing at about 6% annually right now. The CPI rent is 2% rent growth. So, whatever you believe about inflation and everything else, the CPI is not real. This is more than 3x from an extremely bona fide data source, Celo. Inflation's here. Don't worry about it. It's not going away for a while. Now let's talk a bit about what I call striking the balance between debt and liquidity. This is going to be critical because we have these liquidity debt issues coming, and the government needs to find a way of striking the fine balance between keeping lenders confident and positive and keeping the system flush with cash. Critical. And you're going to see lots of cases happening all around the world now based on the knock-on effect of Evergrande, because it could cause liquidity to dry up, which could be a problem, especially for the US. Now, don't worry, we have a solution. Recognize any of these folks? Yes. So basically, if we are getting a Layman 2.0 or a GFC Global Financial Crisis 2.0, i.e. Contagion 2.0, whatever you want to call it, the tried and true government response is flush the system with cash, print more money, do quantitative easing, etc. And all roads lead to, good news for crypto and Bitcoin. And in more government official news that are often corrupt, this guy, the Dallas Fed president, a guy called Kaplan, nailed the top of the S&P market almost to the point. He just cashed out last week. Like, he's freaking genius. But when you dig into exactly what he's trading and how much he trades in the market, and he's a government official responsible for the money in the United States. Think about this. Talk about how he enriched himself and got out right at the right time. Basically, I don't know if it's unethical or wrong, but it looks bloody suspicious to me. If you zoom in on the document on the right, you will see $26+ million trades in things like Apple, Alibaba, Delta Airlines, Google, GE, whole bunch of oil companies, food companies, Oracle, S&P Futures, Tesla, Verizon, phone companies, etc. Many of them were tied to the C-19 situation and others, but that's just, these people should not be allowed to do this in office. Speaking of corrupt officials in office, Christine Lagarde is looking out for you, everybody. She is warning you right now against Bitcoin, high speculative nature of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and she's even talking about, she's talking about Solana now as well. It's like, Solana's on our radar. So Team Europe, listen to Christine Lagarde, or don't. But I just thought that was funny. I mean, the tensity within the central banks, they just don't know what to do. Now, in terms of other regulation government news, Coinbase lending is cancelled. Boom, done. Sometimes you say, don't fight the Fed. Many people probably say, no, don't fight the SEC. But there's probably a far bigger story behind the scenes as to why they pulled out. They came out aggressive against the SEC, but you're not going to win. You don't want to ruffle their feathers because they're just going to make your life hell. Anyhow, with that, there is a tiny piece of new Bitcoin FUD. I want to bring it out to you. It's what they call the growing e-waste problem, which is an interesting article that talks about the amount of e-waste. It's not about energy usage anymore, but it's about the environment and how that the machines that actually mine Bitcoin and process transactions do bring about a number of grams of e-waste per transaction processed on the blockchain. So that'll be the next line of attack against Bitcoin. Watch out for that FUD. It's going to be good. Now that the China miner FUD is gone and energy FUD is like the majority clean renewable energy, now it's going to be the e-waste. So that's the world we live in. Crazy. Expect more bumpiness. But, I still do believe things like Bitcoin, considering the backdrop we have, are still a very safe place to be. And remember, we're at 43K now. We were at 29, 27, 28K a few weeks ago. So we're still winning. And we'll see. All the on-chain data is great. So I'm going to open up to some questions right now and hope everybody is doing good. And it's good to see you on a Monday, but it's a shame it's a stressful one. So here we are. Let's see if there's any questions. And I got something here knocking on my table. A high-tech cloth that stops the bounce. Okay. I wonder if Luke Broyle's going to be first. He is! This guy's a machine. You mentioned Elrond on DCA. Could you elaborate on risks, long, short-term thesis, and projections why buying Elrond if only 10 horses? So first of all, I placed a limit order on it yesterday at $201. I expected some softness in the market. That filled last night early this morning with the dip. I could have got a little lower. It was down to 190, I think. But I felt it was a very safe play to get back to $300 in short order. So it's a quick win. And I can't be all Solana, even though I bought more Solana today. That was when I analyzed everything. It was a toss-up between Elrond and Aave. And because of the nature of Aave and the scrutiny from regulators, I'm still holding my Aave position, but I didn't add to it. But I was this close to picking Aave as well. I just wanted to get something else, and I bought some other stuff too. So that's why, in terms of my price projection, $300, Luke, and the compendium score and the SCP score are nowhere near as good as Solana and a couple of others, but it's okay. It's up there. So hope that helps. Luke, again, some say Bitcoin is guaranteed to be here in 20 plus years. What makes Bitcoin invincible? And if ETH, etc., will compete as a store of value, premature to project 20 years? Yes, it is. I totally agree. I only go out to 2030, 2029, and in 2028, I'm going to do a very hard quantum computing reevaluation. But at the same time, we'll see. The good news is it is upgradable. It has some of the best teams in the world. It's attracting a lot of developer money for the first time ever to make it stronger and better, and a lot of new functionality as well, like smart contract capability with Taproot. So from that perspective, definitely could be here in 20 years, but nothing is guaranteed in this world. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but this planet may not be here in 20 years if we continue, destroying the environment and crazy things and people rattling sabers between countries, and we have nuclear arms and who knows. Anyway, just nothing is for certain in this world. And I always say for safety, there's always a 1% chance that Bitcoin can go to zero, but there's a huge percentage chance that it's going to go a lot higher. So Joseph M., what are your favorite on-chain metrics to look at? Any must-haves? Charts for Glassnode dashboard. I have done a presentation, Joseph, on that. It's my top 20 favorite Bitcoin metrics. It's a video I did about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and check it out. And it's all my favorites. Top 20 in one presentation. So check them out. And they're not in any order, but it kind of starts with my favorites first and goes down the line. So you'll see them all in there. Ryan Promer, in addition to SPX at 4100, other key quant indicators you look closely at to find an equities bottom. Yeah, I look at put-call ratios, look at money flows, flight to safety, what they're buying. If you remember that first chart I showed you, the pharma companies were the only green. That's a classic example. Normally, you'll see money flowing back into some of the top tech names. In fact, considering the market itself today, companies like Tesla were very strong. So I watch the money flows and I watch the put-call ratios, watch what the smart money's doing, and look at a lot of TA as well, because you can see things bottoming out when they do. For example, you could argue as well, Bitcoin bottomed out a few minutes ago too, at that $42,600 level. So that's what I look at. And once we get close to the bottom, I'll definitely do a video on it for you all. Ryan Promer, thank you for the question. Max Alto, what gives you confidence that this is a temporary blip and not a much greater collapse in the making? No, Max Alto, I am very, very nervous. In fact, if you look at my video from Friday, 15 minutes in, you can see how strongly I spoke about this being potential financial contagion. This is very serious. This could be nasty. And that's why I'm still sitting on some cash, picking up a few small positions here and there, but waiting. I was tempted to buy some things I've wanted to get for a long time, but I didn't today. Still patient. Still waiting until I see the signs, exactly what Ryan Promer said, to wait for things to bottom and then go in. So yeah, this could be real nasty. And the world is a house of cards. There's a lot of things that are very unsure. Jake Newby, have you looked into OTC, HMBL, a startup ticketing NFT P2P company? I have never heard of it. And there are so many NFT peer-to-peer companies out there. But I am interested in things like ticketing, live ticketing, and stuff like that. Let me see if I can see anything on it real quick and how big it is. Humble is a cool name. Hang on. Is it a stock? Humble. And nothing. Must be a stock. I've never heard of it. It's a penny stock too. Yeah, I don't do penny stocks over the counter. Be very careful. All that stuff is extremely dangerous when you play. You play with penny stocks, playing with fire, you'll get burned. A lot of people used to do that back in the 90s when online trading became really hot and nobody ever won. So be careful. I will have a look later and see if I can find anything. If I do, you'll be the first to hear about it. Jesse, Ioannidis, how do you rate Crypto.com debit card? It gives 2% cash back on all purchases, better than credit cards from BlockFi, Nexo, and Celsius. I thought they all gave 2% back in the form of Bitcoin. I don't use them, to be honest. But crypto is a trusted name, especially with all of the sponsorships they're doing right now. They're not going to mess up. I know they're behind many sports teams in Europe and things like Formula One racing, and they would not give themselves, I think UFC as well, they would not give customers a black eye by going back on them. So anything that pays 2% in crypto is good. I currently don't have one. I've had an Amazon credit card for years and I run everything through that, and I can buy my own Bitcoin. I don't need to get it from a credit card, but it is interesting for sure. So I wouldn't have a concern with that at all. And Santiago L, how are you? Thoughts on Go mining token GMT? I don't know anything about mining tokens. I'm so sorry about this. The only one I looked at was Helium, HNT, which was a really good one. But I've never heard of GMT, I'm afraid. And I'm so sorry for that. And I'm not on a miner. It's not my strong suit. So deepest apologies. Where's my crypto? What are your thoughts on an exponential profit-taking schedule? Taking more profits at end target price. Yeah, that's what, well, it depends on what you're in. Again, I have a sliding scale of what I'll sell first. The highest risk cryptos will be sold first. Some will never be sold. Some will be hedged. Some I might take some off depending on how far they go, how high they go, and how crazy the market is. But it's so hard to estimate right now until we get closer to that, the kind of blow off top level. And then you'll be the first to hear about that. But that can definitely work, of course, if it's something you need to do and buy back in later. But watch your taxes and try plan between short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains, especially if you're in the US, because that can have a big effect. Joshua DeBacker, not financial advice, but I got into Sol late with an average of 148. Curious on where your next limit order is for Sol. I bought some this morning in the 130s. I think it went to 129 at one stage. So I always buy in 130s. I just layer in every single time. I think I bought at 130s like 4 times now at this stage. And I keep on buying to try and build up my Sol bag. It's 133 now, which is extremely close to where I bought it. And if we look at one-day chart, I think it went all the way down today to... Oh, it didn't go below 130. Yeah, so close to the bottom. I was a few dollars off, but not bad. And if it goes down to 121, I'll buy again. If it goes down to 100, I'll buy again. That's my plan. So I'll see. I'm still sitting on cash to take advantage of this, but I'm not jumping all in yet till I wait for things to stabilize, just like the equity market too. Tommy Walton, should US residents be concerned with Celsius, perhaps move to a hardware wallet? I think my spidey senses tell me that the situation with Coinbase is more intricate, more involved. I know there's some state-by-state things going on with New Jersey, Texas, Alabama with Celsius, and probably some of the other lenders. But I wouldn't be too concerned if you are in a state where you are. I think the SEC has much bigger fish to fry, and I'm not too worried about Celsius. Plus, Celsius have an amazing lobbying team, and they are working closely with the regulators, so it shouldn't be a problem. But if you want safety, that could work. But your crypto won't be affected. The worst case scenario would be there'll be a pause on the actual interest you earn your crypto, perhaps, or a cease and desist, which takes months to put into effect. So we'll see. Eric, what would you choose, rebalancing bot or earning API with Cell? API with Cell, probably. Eric, that's what I would do. That's what I do. And Eric, another question for you. I was investing in stock market since 19 years of age and doubled up my fiat, but crypto seems scary. Anyway, 40% Bitcoin, 20 Sol, 15 ETH, 15 DOT, 10 WETH is okay. Yeah, I don't know what 40% BTC is compared to your Sol. In ETH, you have a lot more ETH than Sol. So I'd layer more into Solana going forward. And given your 15 ETH, again, I don't know how much Bitcoin you have, but congratulations for investing so young. And trust me, everything happens in cycles. Crypto could be very scary as well to people who know the stock market. So it's far more volatile, but a far more asymmetric as well, especially with safe assets like Bitcoin. Joey B, when Lambo, when Patreon subscription. Sorry, Joey, Patreon, as you know, is all sold out. So feel free to check back. Sometimes seats pop open, available from time to time. A lot of people have sniped seats, like the way we snipe crypto. So, but for now, it is closed, I'm afraid. So sorry. And thanks to your donation as well. Snowfall, playing with past, it's always the same people. Mike Mancuso, yay for this. Spunky Punkette, Tunas on Toast. Annika K for the animals. Yes, by the way, we have... because of DCA yesterday, we weren't able to do an animal sponsorship, but we're going to be doubling it up next Sunday. So big thank you. We'll probably actually release that on Saturday in the Quickie because we've moved the DCA time as well a little bit. So I hope that works. And Caligula, well wishes for at Guitar Player No on a surgery. Oh, yes. I hope he's okay. He's a funny guy. And Coin Collector 82, BTC crashes. Everything the Dow sneezes. Yeah. I got some heat for my little joke about China sneezes and the world gets the flu, but that was my Friday joke, which I didn't mean to say. But there you are. Jack Fielding, your new limit orders for Sol, ETH, and Bitcoin. So basically Bitcoin, low 40s, anything 42K. Solana, I layer it in. The lower it goes, the more I buy, but low 130s. On Solana, 120s and then 100s. German Girl, Virginia. Hang on. Snowfall. Been messing around with NFTs. Which NFT market would you recommend trading NFTs on? I heard the new Solflare is good. The Solana network and OpenSea. But OpenSea with Matic Polygon is supposed to be very good as well. So we're trying to dabble with that too. In fact, we have NFTs that are made for sale for charity. And I think they're coming up soon, so I'll talk about those tomorrow. If anybody wants to grab one, and who knows, maybe if this channel gets more popular, they could be worth something for you guys. You might be able to profit for them as well. So let me see. German Girl in Virginia. Haven't taken profit since June. Practicing patience and hodling. Was this a mistake? Profit token strategies. No, not at all. The way we are right now is because we're in the middle of a bull market. There's a lot more to go, so you don't want to try time it unless you are extremely good at getting in and getting out. And considering you might be in Virginia, you'll be subject to short-term capital gains. So I'd be very, very careful of that. But you're doing just fine. Just layer in, accumulate, and then when things start getting very frothy, then think about taking some profit. One more. Is a Bitcoin ETH Sol only portfolio too conservative? That's where 97% of my crypto is. So you're following me. And I dabble with 2 or 3% of my load in other things just for fun to speculate. But I'm heavy into those 3 myself. So good structure. Swerve and Irv, investment in crypto. And by the way, just for the haters out there, I wasn't big into Sol as expected. But because it, 8x'd in a very short window, nearly 10x'd, it blew my proportions out of whack completely. So when I first started investing in Sol, it was similar size to my Cardano position. And then I bought more Sol as it started going up and bought more and more and more. And now I have nearly 30 times more Sol than Cardano. So that's how these things develop. I kind of chase, I shouldn't say chase, is a bad word. But I layer into what I see as being, what establishes itself as the winner out there. Swerve and Irv, investment in crypto, 25% of portfolio consisting of 1.5 Bitcoin, 15 ETH, 180 Sol. Love your retirement plans. Do I need to diversify more crypto? It's funny. It looks like a lot of people are doing a lot of Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. But I would get a couple of other safer plays. Like I picked up a tiny bit of Elrond this morning. Things like Chainlink, I think Polkadot are very good places, and Matic. They are kind of the ones that I see as being the safest, real use cases and real value going forward. All the other stuff we've analyzed in great detail is just has too much risk for me, and I'm very risk averse. So congratulations, Swerve and Irv, but yeah, buy a little bit more of some of those others, and just to balance things out. And then you can also get out of them if they bounce first or bounce a certain amount. Like my L1 play is to sell it at 300, kind of like the way I exited out of Avalanche a little bit too. Phil H, and even with Matic and Theta, sell for Solana now. Yeah, when I did Matic, I wouldn't sell. I keep that. Theta, I got so much hate on the internet for my Theta video, should I buy? And when I said I would only buy it under $6, I got a lot of hate in the video too. But I think it's at $5.20 now. And I think when I made the video, it was like $7.50 or $8. So we'll see. So Theta could go. My target for the year end of the bull run was $12 per my price models for Theta. But, you know, it's so low. And I did say that I might buy if it goes under 6, but I haven't bought. I've chosen other names instead. So if I'm not buying Theta at $5.20, I'll leave that up to you to decide. But I bought Sol today. I did not buy Theta. JKS, what percentage of ETH to Sol do you recommend? In a perfect world, I would love 50-50. But I can't achieve that because I got into Ethereum a lot earlier than Sol, but I'm trying to get there. So I call it layering in. So full disclosure, I was I think it was Thursday or Friday. My ETH bag was 6 times larger than my Sol bag. Now it's about 5 times larger because I bought more today. So I'm trying to get there, but I'll never get there. Unless, of course, I start selling Ethereum, which I don't plan on doing. JMG, how do professional traders know when volatility is coming and then reduce exposure and start putting down shorter trades to sell premium? You just look, all the telltale signs are there with all the macro backdrop, all the charts, all the money flows. So, you know, I have a pretty good skill at picking bottoms and tops. So I sell out of things like Apple at 150 and sell shorts against the trade desk at 90 and NextEra Energy at 90 as well. No, not whatever the price. I think it was 90 on both, actually, coincidentally. And a bunch of other short positions against my in the money positions. And that way I hedge myself. I also sold the $200 calls against Baba. So I was expecting this for about 6 weeks, but I didn't expect a Evergrande to blow up. But I knew the market was ripe for a correction, which is a 10% haircut. I just didn't know which form would come. And here we are. I thought it might have been more of a liquidity crisis of some sort from a government, not from a state company like Evergrande. So that's how it is. But normally, like I expected, I was all cash before COVID hit in March 2020, but I was all cash for nearly 2 years because I was expecting another crisis of some sort. And COVID came, and then I went in hard, and that was life-changing. So I've always timed events like this, and they happen with quite good regularity. So that's how I think professional traders do it. And some are always very, very, very bearish. You got your what I call perma bears. You got your Michael Burries that just is always negative, always thinks the world's going to end. And you got some people that are always positive and bullish. But it's very important to be able to switch horses and be able to turn from being bullish to bearish at the right time. That's the secret. MC, Harmony or VET, 25K to invest. I wouldn't touch either, to be honest. Although VeChain at 10 cents, I see it going to 33 cents. Harmony, I don't like. I've analyzed it 100 ways to Sunday. Don't like it. So hope I didn't offend any Harmony lovers out there. But why buy that stuff when there's much better stuff, MC? Much better names to be had. Let me give you a few. Uniswap, Aave, Solana, Elrond, Ethereum, Bitcoin. That's just safer, you know. Life and Wrestle, or is it Resell? What are your target entries for Solana with the current downtrend? Well, so not sure. Thank you. It's hot in here. As I said, low 130s, like 131, 132, 133, which is where we are now, and then 121, and then 100. So they're my kind of 3 levels that I'd buy. If there is a big wick down, And I'll back up the truck at 100 and get as much as I can possibly do. Let me see. What site do you recommend to buy Elrond and Avalanche on if you live in the USA? Avalanche I buy on Voyager. Elrond, I bought it on a site that I rarely use, and I'm not going to disclose because it's tied to something else, which is a hot wallet. So, but just do a quick Google search. You can find it in a second, and you'll know what I'm doing it on. But I do a lot of my Avalanche trading, and I sold my Avalanche through Voyager a week or two ago. Have you looked into Thorchain, Terra Luna? Yes, I did. VinZ. I've looked into both. I nearly bought Rune when it was at $3. I had a limit order for $3.01, and I missed it by 1 cent. And my speculation was to be able to sell it at 10, and I missed it. I was too chintzy on my limit, and I was kicking myself. Terra Luna, don't like the tokenomics, and I prefer the other names I'm in. They just came out better from both of our models. So, Manny, should I sell my Sol? I'm already down 500 and it keeps going down. Also, ETH and BTC, sell or hodl. Manny, selling now. So you don't want to sell when I'm buying. When I start jumping in and buying, that's not the right time to sell. You're doing a classic buy high, sell low. Just wait, be patient. You know, Sol's going to come back and it can be a beast. I mean, let's look at the 5-day chart on Sol. I mean, 48 hours ago is $171. Okay, it's $130 now. $40 move in less than 48 hours. That's how quickly this thing moves. But I buy at 130. I definitely don't sell at 130. So hope that helps you. Not financial advice, of course. Just showing what I do. My opinion. And ETH, I'm not buying any more ETH. I'm buying Solana instead. And I am buying Bitcoin. Bought some this morning. What do you think of UPath? I love it. Diane L. I love it a lot. In fact, I hold it. And it's in the Retire on Equities portfolio as well. Jaded Jedi. And actually think I can't give financial advice, but it was a very attractive price today as well. Jaded Jedi. In your opinion, are we still looking bullish October? Could the current crashes, etc., last into the fourth quarter? They could. Part of my presentation is we don't know how bad this is going to go. The next phase is the counterparty risk phase to assess where the damage is. And on Friday, he mentioned a huge part of my presentation was about how it could impact Tether. If Tether is holding some of the paper indirectly or directly, that could bring the crypto market down temporarily, but it'll bounce back. So it's very, very hard to say. I have a pretty good crystal ball. I know one thing is going to top and bottom, but I don't know how bad exactly they're going to go. But I think we could have weakness for this week. And then it's the time to start layering into positions because there's still so much money out there. Remember, it's the money that drives the markets. And what are people going to invest in? They can't invest in bonds anymore. Nobody's touching gold. It's the stock market or have your money shriveled away by 15% of a year in a bank account. A or B, you pick. Or crypto, of course. And more people are going into crypto. They're beginning to wake up to it. There's now over 200 million crypto users, which is huge. So that's the world I see. Thank you for donation as well. Joseph Punti, Randy Brown, found out I might be able to borrow against my bag in New York with Nexo. Yes. I got my 81-year-old grandmother into crypto. Got us a nice Bitcoin, ETH, Solana. Let's help the rhinos. That is beautiful. I love hearing that stuff. And there's so many grandparents now that are into crypto, and it gives them a new lease on life. So congratulations. The underdog, I just want a good laugh today and tell me how crappy Sheeb is because I just got some for fun. Oh my God. Well, you're playing with fire. I know Doge has gotten killed. I know Sheeb had a big move last week because they got listed on Coinbase or something. Jeff Hammerberg, sir, you're always there. Nick Blackbird, you and the DCA guys are the bosses. I will share that with the team. George and Rob are true gents. Broke Bank Vegan, hello there. Trish Hill, thank you from Australia. You're a good human and an amazing educator with an amazing team. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody to all the moderators, Jeeves and Big Apple and K8 and Caligula and everybody in there helping out. So you guys are all fantastic. And hope everything's good in Australia. Hope you guys aren't locked down still. Phoenix Zohar, you've been saying it for so long. Bitcoin is pristine. This is the time for us, your audience, to remain calm and acquire more of that bit perceived. Exactly. It's just, this is why I shouldn't be ecstatic, but I had a plan, expected a dip, executed on the dip, and that's a great thing. It's always the thing that stock market doesn't like and what traders don't like is surprises. But if you go in with your eyes open, you know what's coming next. You're not surprised. It's like they used to have these things like amusement parks with scary things, but if you know what's around the corner, you're not frightened. That's the secret, everybody. That's the lesson for today. And a big thank you for today's show as well, MT. Good night, folks. Happy Monday. See you tomorrow, little TA Tuesday. Good night.